Yo, what it do? Today we're checking out the first hands-on preview of Contronl Resonance.
While I did enjoy Contronl, I didn't love it. In certain parts, it was absolutely brilliant.
Exactly how I felt about the game.
Of course, remains one of the best and most memorable third-person shooter sequences of all time, and the power trip of being Jesse Faden and just hurling literally everything in a room at enemies will never get old. That said, I always thought...
You know, the thing about Contronl, I really, no pun intended, I didn't like the way it controlled, the way you control the character.
Thought that the shooting itself was kind of weak, and the variety.
Yeah, exactly. Like the game, the gunplay was weak.
Was as a setting, I didn't love how much I had to constantly backtrack through it. So when
Facts.
Contronl Resonance was revealed and promised all of the weirdness and creativity of the first game, but recalibrated as a melee action game, you better believe that both my curiosity and interest were piqued.
I'd say
Based on early
ballsy
build I got
move.
to play for about 2 hours. It was for good reason.
Like, my biggest thing is that every snippet of gameplay we've seen so far has always been edited, so I'm hoping we're actually going to be able to see the game.
In my demo, I got to play through 3 snippets of Contronl Resonance. The first was the opening sequence that covers Dylan waking up from the coma that he fell into after the events of the first game, finding his way out of the oldest house for the first time since he was a child, gaining a handful of special powers and abilities, and then stepping outside into a Manhattan that has been overrun by the Hiss.
I feel like we're not going to see any gameplay in this 8-minute video.
The paranormal viral resonance that should have been contained within the halls of the oldest house. The second part of my demo jumped me ahead to about
hammer,
10 hours in
sword,
and let me play around in the open
into great
zone.
sword.
We unfortunately weren't able to capture any footage of this area, but it served the purpose of giving players a place to run around, pick up and complete side quests, and search for chests containing various
different
resources
outfits
that could be used to further upgrade Dylan's abilities. You'll also travel through the extraction zone to reach the more linear main missions, which are reminiscent of the various wings that you'd explore in the first Contronl. I only got to
double
experience
jump with
one
an
of
air
these
dash,
missions, which made up the third and final section that I got to play. In it, Dylan descended into a sinkhole to plant research drones at the bottom, using a lift that would periodically get interrupted by the pesky Hiss. In order to get the lift moving again, I'd have to clear out all the enemies in the area, which highlights one of the more...
Okay, right there we saw a 2 heavy attacks into telekinesis, and I don't see anything at the bottom of the UI indicating that we're going to be changing like weapon swapping, although I do see L2, R1, R2. L2 looks like a shield maybe, R1 maybe use fist attack, R2 is maybe for projectile, maybe R1 is for your melee. There's still a lot to see, but so far, I don't think this is going to be like a weapon swapping game like Devil May Cry. Perhaps a weapon transformation game, as in you hit square 1, 2, 3 times, you do a regular light attack combo. But if you press square, pause, and then hit square again, your light attack finisher, instead of being a sword, it turns into a hammer. You know, something like that.
Interesting design decisions about Contronl Resonance combat encounters. Basic fodder enemies respawn endlessly, so if you're just thoughtlessly swinging your sword around, cleaning up the small fry, you're going to be spending a lot of time doing so.
Interesting.
In order to clear the encounter, you need to defeat all the tougher elite enemies,
Okay,
marked
so
by large
finishers.
red circles on your minimap. Once the elevator reached the bottom, I had to utilize Dylan's unique mobility options to place the aforementioned drones in specific spots all around the room.
I hope it's not going to be janky, man.
When it comes to movement, Dylan can hold down the jump button to do a high jump and glide, then pair that with a short double jump, and finish it off with an air dash for a bit of horizontal movement. Combining all of those techniques made it so that Dylan could cross gaps between buildings that you'd expect to see in an Incredible Hulk game. The coolest sequence in the sinkhole mission, though, was after the lift crashed and Dylan had to find a new way back to the surface.
You know, one of my big issues with Contronl is how goofy the characters look when they're moving. I really hope that throughout the game, Dylan finds his footing and looks a little less goofy when he's moving around.
As you follow a glowing cord illuminating the right direction, eventually the plain subterranean landscape shifted into the interiors of a looping apartment where you had to follow the direction of a song and a blue light emanating from a TV.
Is that music?
Then Then you turn a corner, and all of a sudden you look out to see a vista of hundreds of open apartments arranged almost like an opened up doll.
This right there, I love. Instead of putting a bright yellow indicator telling me where to go, it's like follow the song and follow this blue light. Eventually you're gonna find your path. And I wish more games did stuff like this. I wish you had more middle ground, right? It's either you have the indicator telling you exactly where to go, or it's just figure everything out. I feel like this is a happy middle, kind of like in Elden Ring when you had the Sights of Grace. It points you in the general direction that you have to head. You had to go in, and yeah, that much I like.
Where once again you must use the music to guide your eyes to the one room with the blue TV. In the next area, the apartments were no longer just in front of you, they were above, below, some are sideways, some are upside down.
That's so cool.
And yet the song still persists, guiding you towards the exit. It's all very surreal and very apropos to what we've come to
Infinity Castle!
And especially from Control. So, what does it play like? Well, it's a fast-paced melee action game with a heavy emphasis on wide-open combat arenas. There are tons
That was a hold. That's a hold attack.
So, what does it play like? Well, it's a fast-paced melee action game with a heavy emphasis on wide-open combat arenas. There are tons of enemies all over the place, both on the ground and in the air, and there's a big focus on giving the player a wide variety of toys to play with to craft their own unique expression of combat. There's not really a single game that I would point to in terms of what it feels like, but if you can imagine the frantic, never stop moving, relentless action of Doom 2016, mixed with the faster style of Control's floaty acrobatics, and a healthy dose of Devil May Cry mixed in for good measure, with the way you're able to launch an enemy into the air, and then stick to them with a combination of air combos and a variety of cancels, you'd be in the right ballpark.
Ooh, animation
Instead
cancels.
of just equipping a single melee weapon, Dylan is actually able to equip a total of 3. But they're all used for different things. You have your standard weapon, which is used for quick attacks, a sub-weapon that generally does more damage, but requires a bit more finesse to make up for its downsides, and then you can also equip a weapon for your finishing move, which is essentially the final hit of your standard melee combo. My main go-to loadout involved using the 2 to make up for
Okay, I just want to do a quick little check over here. If you look at the bottom, we got L2, R1, R2. R1 is a hand pointing upwards, and then later on
they're all used for different things. You have does more make up for the final hit.
Now if you look at R1, the fist is pointing downwards. It's actually a closed fist instead of an open palm. So this might be one of the weapons that we're switching, I guess.
Of your standard melee combo. My main go-to loadout involved using the 2 swords as my standard weapon for dealing quick damage and clearing out fodder enemies, a massive hammer that can be charged up for big damage, and gauntlets that would do heavy stagger damage as my finishing move. I loved using the hammer in particular as it let me do my favorite Devil May Cry technique, air cancels. I was able to charge up the aerial hammer attack that normally would send me crashing back down to the ground, but by canceling that animation with a jump, dodge, or ability, I could remain in the air, still up in their face.
Nice.
It's not quite as stylish as DMC's enemy step jump cancels,
Nowhere
but
near.
Still very satisfying and effective to pull off.
This I don't like.
The combat really gets in.
Like,
It's
the entire time he's fighting in the air, there is an enemy just blasting him with a laser the entire time. Look at this.
DMC's enemy step jump cancels, but still very satisfying and effective to pull off. Where the combat really gets...
It's like your character doesn't stagger. I can only assume that your health bar acts as like a psychic shield or something like that, which is why he's not staggering. And once that shield is broken, that's when you become actually vulnerable, I suppose, which would make sense. Press circle, dodge with shield to bash. Huh, cool. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if it is because of a psychic shield, I am okay with it.
Face. It's not quite as stylish as DMC's enemy step jump cancels, but still very satisfying and effective to pull off. Where the combat really gets interesting is in the special abilities that Dylan can employ. You can have 2 sets of 3 abilities active at any time, and can hot swap between them with the touch of a button. In my demo, I only got to see 5 of them, and they included a telekinetic rock throw, much like what Jesse does in the first game, a ground slam, also much like what Jesse does in the first game, a ranged pyrokinetic attack that could inflict the burn status ailment, a power-up that constantly drained Dylan's ability meter, but gave all of his attacks burn damage,
Nice.
a telekinetic push, and a rock shield that could be used both defensively and offensively by dodging through enemies while it's active. Between the 3 weapon types, abilities, skill trees for...
Okay, primary form. We have, I'm guessing that's the hammer, dual sword, and a scythe. I'm about it. Press square right after a circle to dodge, perform a dodge attack, which is twice as powerful as a normal flurry attack. Alrighty. So we know for a fact that we're going to be using the face buttons for combat, which I like because it's more character action.
Each of those weapons and abilities, build altering artifacts, and more. I
Resource recovery boost.
feel pretty comfortable saying that Contronl Resonant will have a fairly flexible combat system that lets you tailor your playstyle to your liking. You can lean into just doing raw damage, make a build that focuses on staggering enemies and opening them up for executions, one that focuses
I hope we'll be able to get different elements as well, not just fire.
on rapid hits to make more frequent use of your combo finishers, or a mid-range build that utilizes the whip sword sub-weapon that deals 5 times the damage if you're able to hold and release the attack button at just the right time.
Okay, timed
Even
attacks.
with
I like
just 2
that.
hours of play with a limited selection of abilities, weapons, and artifacts, my brain was putting together loadouts that had good synergy. As I briefly discussed earlier, one of my main issues with the first Control was a distinct lack of enemy variety. And while I can't say for sure how the full game will turn out, at the very least what I can say is that I faced off against a pretty wild assortment of enemies that were already more interesting visually and mechanically than the ones
Bro,
in the
this
first
game looks
Control.
chaotic.
One segment in the extraction zone had
I like
me
it.
facing off against a giant bus with hiss-infected zombies spilling out the windows. Another section had me fighting literal vending machines, and in another sequence, I had to chase down a cloaked monster all around a mind-bending arena that let me change the direction of gravity to walk on walls and ceilings.
Honestly, that is insane, and I'm super here for that. Like, playing an action character game where you can just shift the gravity, and the wall is technically the floor now, definitely sounds like an interesting concept to me.
I really hope that they can keep up the creativity and enemy design throughout the whole game, because you can have the best combat system in the world, but it doesn't really mean much if the enemies aren't fun to fight against. Fortunately, thus far, Contronl Resonant doesn't seem to have that problem. Contronl Resonant is shaping up to be exactly what it looks like. More control, only designed as a melee action game as opposed to a physics-driven third-person shooter. And so far, that's an incredibly potent mix. The real question is whether or not Remedy can keep introducing new weapons, abilities, and interesting enemies at a steady pace all throughout the whole adventure. So far though, I'm definitely vibing with its resonance. For more previews of the biggest upcoming games,
Do it!
some recent hands-on looks at Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced and Ace Combat 8. And for everything else in the world of gaming, give it here on IGN.
Honestly, so far, what I saw, I like. This is a rare IGN I have to say. And I'm definitely going to be playing it. I think it comes out in September like 24th or something like that. Yeah, Contronl Resonance, man. It looks pretty dope. Alright, that's it. You do whatever you want to do, man. Like, comment, share. Peace. Let's hit 500 subs.